Tony Bailey, early morning prayer. I want to share a story with you that started many years back now. I was attending a Manna-fest meeting with Brother Chester Wright in Peoria, Illinois. The meeting was hosted by Brother James Lashley, just a prince of a man. And in that meeting, there were some new people that I had not met, and one man in particular was Tony Bailey. When Brother Wright introduced the two of us, Brother Bailey looked at me and he said, "I have had your name written on a piece of paper for 2 years sitting on my desk." I said, "Well, that's strange. Why would you do that?" He said, "Somebody spoke to me some time ago and said that you and I should meet." And so I said, okay, well, here we were meeting. We interacted in that meeting. We ministered together in that meeting. And then there were several meetings after that I would be attending, and he was there as well, that we interacted. And then we began to travel a little bit together. We'd gone down to Phoenix, Arizona. We had a meeting down there. We went to Atlanta, Georgia, Florida. And then he approached me one time, wanted to know if I would go with him to Singapore. And so he said, I was in Singapore, and Brother Steve Willoughby told me, he said, "I want you to come back next year, and when you do, you will be bringing another man with you." And he said, Tony said to me, "You're the man." Okay, I'm listening. And so I made arrangements. Of course, I had to pay my own way. I made my arrangements, and we met in Singapore. And one of the most interesting, well, the thing that marked me was, as I watched Tony minister on prayer, he imparted a spirit of prayer. In other words, many times after he finished a teaching session, a ministry session, there was an impartation in the room, and people would come under a spirit of prayer, a spirit of intercession. I saw this multiple times. Now, this had a direct impact on my prayer life, on my prayer experience, on my communion with God, which then also affected my ministering. Communion with God has a direct impact on the outflow of ministry that takes place in your life. There's no shortcuts. There's no getting around it. There was a trip that he and I took. Again, he invited me to go with him. I never asked to go to any of these places. It was always by invitation from somebody. And so Brother Bailey asked me if I would travel to Tokyo with him. There was a conference that was being hosted there by the missionaries, Brother Lucas, and others. Slipping my memory. David Doan, that's who it was. Anyway, we went to Japan together and participated in ministry there. And I had another unique experience happen there. There was an interpreter by the name of Yokoyama. I believe I'm saying that right. Great young man. And one day he spoke to Tony and I and said, "Would you come outside for a minute? I want to say some things to you." And so we did, and we found a private place, and he said, "I just feel like I'm supposed to tell you this. Because we are Tokyo, Japan, we get a lot of guys come through here. We get a lot of big name preachers that come through here." And he gave off a list of these names. He said, "But what you're doing here is completely different. it's completely different. And so coming away from that conversation, I had to attribute that to, this is simply the gifting of God operating through the two of us. It wasn't some ministry we developed or were trained for. It was simply gifting that this particular interpreter and brother felt like he needed to share that with us. I enjoyed the years that we had together. I think it was a 2-year period that we did quite a bit of travel, went to Liverpool, England, ministered there. Again, Tokyo, Singapore. There's probably some places I've forgotten. But I truly love Tony Bailey and the experiences that we shared together, the many conversations that we had, and specifically the impact of prayer that came into my life. One of my trips, I returned home with the resolve, I'm going to start my days an hour earlier. I'm going to go to the church and I'm going to pray. And so I did that. I started doing that. There were a couple of other guys found out and they started showing up as well. But for 7 years, we would meet at the church every morning and have a season of prayer. And I would tell you, this probably brought one of the greatest impacts upon my life and upon my ministry. I know there's a lot of young men that are they're aspiring for ministry. They want to be involved in apostolic ministry. And I would tell you that it is the precepts, the concepts, and the prayer and communion relationship with God that makes all the difference. But there is no shortcut. You're not going to get that just because you've attended a Bible college or had some formal training of some kind, or you develop to become some kind of an orator. There is another term that I'm going to discuss in another video, and that is spiritual expression. The Bible says we have a holy unction, and it is spiritual expression, to me, that makes all the difference. We'll talk more later.